Welcome to the Anchor of Hope podcast. I am your host, Tunezia. On this episode, Parenting and Play Therapy, I have two amazing guests with me, Rachael and then our very own Becca Chavez. Thank you, ladies, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Becca, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your role here with Spero in the Play Therapy department?
Yeah, so I work at Spero's Counseling Center, and we have two offices, one in West Frankfort and one in Mount Vernon. And I do see, so I have a small caseload, and so I do see some kids, and then I manage, I'm the play therapy manager, so I supervise the therapists that are using play therapy and the therapists that are in the Mount Vernon location.
Awesome. So all things play therapy in your
Yes.
world. Awesome. And then, Rachael, you have directly benefited from play therapy.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the first time that you said, what is play therapy? I want to use play therapy. I want to learn about play therapy. What did you know? What didn't you know?
Well, I didn't know a lot outside of the fact that it utilized play.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually brought up to me by my younger son. He was getting other types of therapy at Spero, and his therapist at the time felt that play therapy may be a benefit to him. He wasn't opening up a lot. He wasn't, really utilizing therapy to the best. He wasn't utilizing the time. And so they suggested it, and that was kind of my first introduction to it.
So, awesome. And I'm pretty sure along the way you learned more things about play therapy and the benefits of it.
A little bit more. I'm still not super familiar, probably just with all the ins and outs of it, but I've definitely seen the benefits of it at home.
Gotcha. Becca, what is play therapy? Can you give us a brief description of what is it?
Sure. It's probably hard to just put into a few words, but so it is an evidence-based type of therapy, and mostly used with kids, but there are certain aspects of it that I can use with adults. So really it kind of anything that you're doing outside of just the normal talk therapy could kind of be considered play therapy. So we use art, sand tray. There's a lot. It kind of just varies with age. So older kids are a little bit more interested in going outside and playing basketball, or we have a teen room, a teen area. And then some of the younger kids, we have a playroom. And so they like to go in there. We also have a sand tray room. And so we just try to utilize different types of toys and things to bring out that communication in children. So if you're my client, and you and I would just sit and talk and chat and share back and forth. And with children, they normally don't have the language. They don't understand some of the words or how to even express or to know what they're feeling. And so play is just their normal form of communication. And so also a lot of times while kids are playing, they're opening up and they're talking, and they're not even realizing that they're doing it. So kind of play therapy, there's a lot of things that fall underneath it. I hope that kind of summarizes.
Yeah, it's there's several different ways for you guys to do play therapy with youth and young adults.
Yes, for sure.
So, Rachael, how did you feel that your child first initial visit with play therapy? What was their reaction?
He was apprehensive at first, but he came out and he finally started to get excited about coming back for the next appointment.
Mm-hmm.
He really enjoyed it a lot that first time, and continues to enjoy it. So,
Becca, what do you think that parents can expect when they are bringing their child to a session in play therapy?
So just in this last year, we've tried to kind of change our program a little bit to involve our parents more, because we see your child for 1 hour, sometimes less, depending on what's going on, or if they're seeing at school, or just a shorter session. So you're the person who's going to carry any kind of change. You're going to carry that home. And so we want to be like a team with the parent. And so we've tried to change up some of like our procedures. So just recently we started meeting with the parent before we ever meet with the child. And so then that allows us a session to talk without the child present, to talk about maybe anything that has occurred, any kind of like traumatic experiences, or just like things that could be perceived as negative. And so we don't want to have those conversations in front of the child.
Right.
And so it's been really helpful to get that parent perspective, to be able to talk and not like try to speak in code because the child's there. And then it helps us build a relationship with the parent as well, because we do want them to feel like we're a team, and for our communication to be really strong as well, while respecting the child's confidentiality. And so I think hopefully that answers the question.
Building a relationship with the parent first is kind of initially the most important part, making sure that you guys are on the same page.
Yes.
And Rachel, how's your relationship with your therapist, with your child's therapist?
Good. I feel like we've got really great open communication. I don't feel embarrassed to come with her. You know, as parents, we always blame ourselves for whatever our kid is struggling with. And even though it's not always our fault. And I don't feel embarrassed to come to her and be like, this is something we're struggling with. And I feel like she has his best interest at heart. And that's been really helpful.
Would you say that play therapy has been successful thus far?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. He struggles, emotions are hard for him, and kind of opening up. And like you said, how play therapy, it can just allow them to be a little more vulnerable. He doesn't realize that he's talking about things because he's engaged in the play.
Right.
And especially when big emotions come up, you have these big emotions in these little bodies. And, as an adult, I'm still learning to regulate my emotions. Yeah. I'm in therapy. And so as I'm still learning that, he's got someone to help him. It's really been helpful. And he's opened up quite a bit more, kind of less tantrums, things of that nature, because he does have that outlet to talk about things, that safe space, and opens up a little bit more too about some things that he's struggling with at home.
And someone else to talk to.
Yes.
The parents or family.
Yes. An unbiased third party is helpful.
Yeah. I was just going to add that, so you brought up a really good point with kind of feeling like we blame ourselves as parents, like for whatever the child may have experienced or for whatever they're coming to therapy for. And so I do think sometimes there is hesitation on the parent's end or on the therapist's end, because I don't want to offend you. I don't want to like step on your toes, or for you to think that I'm critiquing your parenting. Right. And so I think it can be like a really sensitive topic. Or just like sometimes cause like some awkward, communication. And so I think it's really nice to kind of take the team approach. And then I feel like it makes it a little less like awkward and offensive or anything.
Yeah. And I feel like as a parent, you have to go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
And you have to go into it from the perspective of, I'm doing this because it's what's best for my child. Mm-hmm. And that makes a difference. Like, it is hard. It's hard as an individual to go to therapy for yourself. And it's hard as a parent, for sure. Yeah.
And it's hard to trust, trust somebody. It's one thing for us to trust as an adult, but to trust somebody else with your kid. That's why earlier I think it was important when you said building a relationship first with that parent is important.
Do you ever wonder what makes a family service organization truly exceptional? Eagle Accreditation is a nationally recognized standard for excellence in human services. It shows an organization meets rigorous standards for quality, safety, and best practice. For families and children, Eagle Accreditation means they can trust Spero to provide safe, effective, and compassionate care. It's a mark of accountability and excellence in every service we provide. Spero is proud to be Eagle accredited, ensuring every family we serve receives the highest standard of care.
Becca, what would you say are some signs that play therapy is working with a child that you guys see at the Counseling Wellness Center?
So like one approach that we use is child-centered. And so a lot of that is where the child is in control. And so if you think about the times that children are in control in their, regular everyday life, it's probably, none.
Right.
And so, for that 1 hour, they get to choose the activity, they get to choose, whatever it is that they are interested in for that day. And so it really, we allow them to like lead a game or make up the rules. It's really just up to them what they're doing. And so I think that giving them that freedom and the ability to choose, I think gives them, builds their self-esteem. I think that it helps them at home, with some of those aspects as well. We have a lot of like kids who have siblings, and so obviously they fight. And so, when they're in therapy, they get that undivided one-on-one attention that they may not get anywhere else. And, sometimes as parents, like, we're so busy and, it's hard to put it on our phone or our laptops or whatever when we're at home and to fully engage. But like for that time, that child gets that undivided, attention. And so another thing that we do with child-centered is we try to help them like name those feelings and just understand the feelings. And so they may be acting something out, and then I would, name, wow, that seems like you are really frustrated. And so then that helps them understand like, oh, that's that feeling. So then the next time I feel that, I can understand that that is frustration. Helping them understand like where they feel things in their body is very important. And so we can do that a lot with play and kind of help them regulate. And especially if they're maybe acting out something or doing something that's like more aggressive in the playroom, we can kind of help them bring it back down to where they feel regulated. And then that is a skill that they're learning and they can do outside of session as well. And so, in a nutshell, it's hard to say exactly because every child is different. And, it may be helpful the very first session where you're like, the child seems a little bit different or more regulated. And then I have seen kids for years as well. And, after a certain point, it's usually maintenance. But, their children are always going to need some sort of support, just like adults. And so, as adults, sometimes we're in and out of therapy and you just need it at different points in your life. So,
yeah. And that's something you mentioned made me think. I think that's what sums up what we've noticed the most in our home is being able to identify those emotions, especially the harder ones like frustration, jealousy, things like that. Yeah. It's easier for kids to name I'm angry, I'm happy. And then also the regulation. He has struggled with regulating his body and his emotions. And we've noticed an improvement in that. She mentioned those. That made me think of that.
Yeah, because it seems like it's just not play therapy. It's also educating them on their emotions, right? And helping them become more self-aware.
Yes, for sure. And, and I think like, even in sessions like doing some role playing or showing them how I'm feeling in a session, or if maybe we're playing something and then I say like, oh wow, that made me feel really scared, or that made me feel nervous, that made my belly upset because I'm feeling nervous. And so just teaching them some of those skills to recognize those feelings, and then hopefully kind of regulating before you get to, before you get to a point where you can't come back down.
Yeah, before you have a meltdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You guys, both of you guys mentioned family and in the home, which are two important words as well when it comes to therapy. Rachel, what would you say that you guys at home as a family have successfully noticed that play therapy has made a difference in your child?
Like I said, I think the emotional regulation, being able to identify his emotions, and then also just seeing the impact it's had I feel like as adults, as we age, we outgrow play, we lose our imagination. And it's really motivated me to get back into that side of parenting and meet him on his level, play things with him. And I see the same results too. Like he does open up a little bit more, talk to me about things. Sometimes I think it's just because he forgets that we're talking. He's so engaged in the play that he starts, those conversations happen. And helped us regulate our own emotions too, because he's calmer. It's created a calmer environment.
Right. What types of play do you do at home? One in my household is games. Games. Monopoly, Uno, all of those things. What do you guys do as a form of play in your home?
We get outside when we can, and sometimes that's just, I have boys, so they love sticks in the mud, and we have a creek, throwing sticks in the creek. But like you mentioned, gaming, he loves Roblox, video games. So sometimes we'll just sit. I've downloaded it on my phone. We can sit there and play together. He loves to teach me things, and then just classic board games, card games, stuff like that. And kind of like you mentioned, the control. Yeah. If we're playing a game, and I do it with both my kids. Sometimes my youngest will choose, and sometimes my older child will choose, and giving them that control of what do you want to do? Let's sit down and engage together.
Yeah, including the activity. Right?
Yes, and the decision making around it too, as well.
Becca, what do you say are some, or what would you say are some activities that families can do at home with their children?
I
support play therapy.
Yeah, I'm a parent too, and I have to also remind myself of some of these things, but I think honestly, just spending the time, regardless of what you're doing, where you're putting your phone down, turning the TV off, you're getting on their level. So I have a daughter, she's obviously interested in more girly type things. And so I, engage with her a lot different than I engage with my son, who is into the video games. And so that is all that he talks about. So I just act interested, or I play or whatever. And so just giving them that time, because I think what happens is I see a lot of behaviors for my own kids when they don't have the attention. And so they're going to act out. So I'm going to spend more time calming them down, after a meltdown or whatever, than I would if I just sat down and played with them for 15 minutes. And I think that a lot of times parents think well, I have to spend a lot of money and we have to do these extravagant activities, take them places. And that is not it. You can make a game up out of anything really, or just get outside. Board games, there's so many free options, on phones, even if you wanted to do an electronic thing. So I think it can just be really simple activities. It can be free activities. It can be things that you're doing at home. And it really can just be 10 or 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be, a planned game night every week. Those things are nice, but whenever you're hustling through school, the school year, it's just kind of impossible to do those things. So I just try to take a few minutes each day if I can.
Yeah. And sometimes those moments can be on your way to school, dropping them off, right? Yeah. All things like that. Yes. Or before dinner.
Definitely. For sure.
Rachel, what are some advice that you would give parents who maybe consider therapy?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to try it. The worst that happens is you don't see a benefit. Give it some time. The worst that happens is your kid went to a trusted source and they had a good time. There's no harm in it, in my opinion. Obviously, if you don't find a good therapist, but go somewhere you trust and give it a shot. Put your kids first, put yourself in their shoes, and think, what would I need, especially as a child, in that moment to work through my issues, and then, utilize the tool that you have available.
And then, Becca, if a parent is wondering about play therapy or wanting to get their child in with play therapy for a session, what could they do? What would be the first steps?
So really anyone can refer a client. So we do self-referrals. A parent can refer a physician, somebody at the school. So anyone can refer, and we do have a wait list. And so we go through the wait list, and then you'll have an intake, and then start the process with your therapist. As I mentioned, we are doing parent meetings first. And so we meet with the parent first prior to meeting with the child. And then, we kind of jump in with the kid. The biggest thing that I would just say, kind of to add on to what Rachel was saying, is you do have to find a good therapist. And I think that you have to find someone that fits your child's needs. And so it's okay to communicate like, hey, this isn't working, or I'm confused as to what you're doing in here, or whatever it might be. I think that parents should definitely just communicate, because there are times where I think parents or the child just stops coming because maybe there's like, we're not jiving. And so it's easier to just not come back or whatever. But I think it happens all the time where we want to be the best fit for a child. And sometimes that's just, it's not, we're not everybody's like cup of tea. So it's okay to communicate like, hey, I maybe need somebody else, just so that you can continue to come.
Right.
And so I think communication is just really important.
Yeah. Okay, before we wrap up the session, we have a tagline here at Anchor Hope. So it's I hope. So when I say I hope, what do you hope for? It can be something related to play therapy or not. Becca, I'll start with you. So when I say I hope, what do you hope for?
I hope that we can continue to reach as many children as possible.
Awesome.
I hope that my children continue to have safe places to be vulnerable, both with me and my husband and outside of that in therapy, and that we continue to just become a healthier, happier family overall.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us and taking the time out your day to be here with me.
Thank you.
Be sure to visit us at sperofs.org to learn more about us and play therapy, and also watch us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, we'll see you later on Anchor Hope Podcast.